Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Q&A on the spiritual life with John Khoury. And we continue our conversation on Lectio Divina. John, I'm just going to go straight to the point. Is Lectio Divina just simply difficult to practice, or is it impossible to practice?
Hi, Camila. Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me. And again, another challenging question. Is Lectio Divina difficult or impossible? Despite the fact that we described in the previous videos the Lectio Divina as being challenging and difficult and requiring an effort, etc., this as well should be balanced with some other truth, because otherwise it would be unfair on us and on our God, on God. Lectio Divina indeed is not difficult or very difficult. It is simply impossible. And the impossibility lays on two different levels. The level of listening and the level of putting into practice. This is very important. So I will be anticipating a little bit on the impossibility of putting into practice, because this is something that belongs to the third part. But here as well, we should talk about this impossibility. So now, what does it mean, difficult and impossible? Let us go back to the blind man. The difficulty, the great difficulty, is the insistence. But it's the insistence of a beggar. It's not the insistence of an achiever. You see, we are not achievers. We are beggars. We need if you prefer, we need to achieve a good begging. Therefore, the grace of God can work. Very often, you will notice, or any person who practices Lectio Divina will notice that you reach a point where you feel that you are hitting a wall. You are begging, you are asking, you are trying to understand the text. You have loads of good thoughts, analyzing the text. You have good thoughts here and there, first reading, second reading. But in the same time, you feel that this is not yet the grace of God. God is not talking to you yet. So you feel like you are hitting the wall of the silence of God. I think at this junction, it is important to acknowledge the grace of God, to acknowledge the Holy Spirit, the direct intervention of the Holy Spirit. I would almost say that it's like you reach a point of despair, and then suddenly you say, okay, now I will go for an extra mile. But that extra mile is almost literally, almost like extending your hands and is about to hold. You're about to hold the grace of God, or be held, or be receiving the grace of God. So the extra mile is in fact a pure prayer, like saying, not doing anything, not begging anything, but just saying, God, help me. Now I did all what I could. I failed. I gloriously failed. And this is very important, to do all what you can do. I like what St. Ignatius says, no? St. Ignatius of Loyola, no? He says, do everything as if all depended on you, and leave it to God as if all depended on God. I think this embodies, encapsulates almost in a nice and perfect way this relationship between us and God. Do everything as if everything depended on you, while you acknowledge this general help of the grace of God. And what will happen is that you won't get anything. That's important to know. Exceptionally, yes, a big feast, a big solemnity, yes, it will be easier to practice Lectio Divina. This is important to notice as well. The variation in the quality of ease in Lectio Divina is often directly related to the feasts. If we are in a solemnity, big feasts, Christmas, Easter, etc., it's way easier. a feast of an apostle or a feast of Our Lady or something like that, you will find that Lectio Divina is a little bit easier. But on the daily basis, for the rest of the days, we still are invited to practice Lectio Divina. You will find that you reach that wall of silence of God. When you reach that wall, what do? How do you cross from the difficulty, the very difficult, this wall of silence of God, and then the work of the grace of God? It's by walking an extra mile. Consider that you walked 10 miles, then what is left is 1 extra mile. But that extra mile, you transform it into a prayer, saying, okay, God, I tried everything now, all what I have, all the tools I have in the box. Now, the last thing I need to remind myself of is just say, Lord, give me your Holy Spirit with your help. So with this extra mile, it's as if all the tension and effort you put has been released, and then suddenly you are truly in a greater receptive state. And then the grace of God works at that moment. So you see how the grace of God is a free gift. It's not due to your effort, because your effort, you did everything, you failed, but you had to fail. It's like you had to try everything. Once you've tried everything, now the extra mile is what? Is to say, well, God, have mercy on me. Give me that extra help from the Holy Spirit, so I could listen to you. And then suddenly you feel that the text opens, that the light of the Lord comes through a word or a sentence or a verse or something and starts to work. You see? I hope this helps.
Yes, it reminds me of the idea that in the gospel where Jesus talks about how only the I forget the quote exactly, but that he was happy that the children, that the simple can see, and that he hides the truth from the proud.
Blessed are you, O Lord, because you hid your wisdom from the you hid your light or your revelation from the wise and knowledgeable people, and you offered it to the little and small ones. Yes.
Right. So when we humble ourselves, that's when we get to be open to him. So again, thank you very much, John, and thank you everyone for listening to another Q&A on the spiritual life with John Khoury.
Thank you very much, Camille.